Hoping a few more come in, but thank you, those who are seated, thank you. Certainly we want to thank Michael, Charette, Laughing Fox from the Red Cliff Band. Well, my name is Leo Bayview. I'm chair of Two Harbors Community Radio. Thanks all of you who have come out today to our Native Nations Expo and the Cabin Fever celebration of arts and community. Hopefully a real reliever for all of us. Buju, greetings, and how. We stand here today on 1854 treaty land that was ceded, in effect taken from the Anishinaabe of northeastern Minnesota. We stand here today on the once ancestral lands of the Dakota and now the Anishinaabe people. We stand here near the shores of Giizhik, Lake Superior, vibrant with travel, trade, gathering, and healing, long before the Europeans arrived. Today, we at KTWH stand in support of the rights of Native nations and people in this region, those who live here exercising their tribal sovereignty and reserved rights, and we acknowledge as well those people whose relatives were forcibly removed from their homelands. And for our community radio service to truly serve the public good, we need to commit to actions that reflect where we stand. And in that vein, Two Harbors Community Radio joins people of good faith everywhere in solidarity with the indigenous peoples of Minnesota, the Anishinaabe and Dakota. And our KTWH radio service commits to providing news of Native peoples' efforts to reclaim their land and sustain their language, their spirituality and communities, sharing indigenous music regularly on our airwaves, providing interviews and stories on the perspectives of local Native people, and sharing news features from Native broadcasters to keep listeners informed on the latest developments in Native nations. KTWH aims to take the long road of working for truth and reconciliation. So please stay tuned, help us meet our goals, and hold our radio service accountable to the community. A community not of us and them, a community of we, all the people. Miigwech, thank you. Pidamaya, and may the show continue. And thank you so much for listening.
And good afternoon, everyone. Oh, we can do better than that, right? Buju, good afternoon. There, that's more like it. Welcome to this year's annual KTWH Cabin Fever Reliever. I'm Jon Sonofmel. I'll be your MC for the duration of the program, and we have a bunch of amazing talent scheduled here for you today, for your listening enjoyment, because you know what? If you're here, you belong. If you're not here, you belong. We all belong, and nobody shows or demonstrates that better than traditional cultures and community radio. They're the alternative to the more commercialized radio. And so we have a diverse amount of voices and things that you're going to hear today. And because community radio builds connections, awareness, and honors the diversity through their own on-air programming, volunteers like you. Because if you're here, you're a volunteer. You're helping KTWH continue its mission. And by events like today. And how many enjoyed the Native American Expo out there today? Yeah, wasn't that? It was amazing. So I want to thank each and every one of them out there. First of all, GLFWC, the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission. And if you did not see their amazing tattoos, their temp tattoos, check with Jennifer during the intermission. And we also represented here is the John Beargrease Sled Dog Marathon, the 1854 Treaty Authority, the Lower Sioux Indian Community Hebcrete Building Products, the Minnesota and Lake County Historical Societies, Xander Ripley-Jaakola with his handmade banjos, and Michael Charette Laughing Fox with his flutes, and Brian Stillday with his Fond du Lac dance drums. And a special thanks to Yellow Cloud Rising for the music that he played for us. And community radio doesn't happen without support from listeners and sponsors. So thank you all for being here today. And a special thanks to Loving Lake County, with very special thanks to Michelle Peterson and Janelle Jones, Two Harbors Federal Credit Union, North Shore Federal Credit Union, Thrivent Financial, Cooperative Light and Powers, Operation Roundup, Betty's Pies, Judy's Cafe, the Harbor Rail Loft, holiday stations of Two Harbors, both east and west, the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, Two Harbors Media, Minnesota Public Radio, and the Duluth Radio, the Duluth Reader. That's a list, and that's just the beginning of all the sponsors and people that we're going to thank throughout the afternoon today. But without further ado, I'm going to first of all introduce Laughing Fox, Michael Charette, who is an internationally touring storyteller and flutist, an eloquent and colorful ambassador of Anishinaabe culture, who's performed from theaters, classrooms, and libraries to national landmarks and listening rooms. He's written a musical that has become an annual staple of the Big Top Chautauqua. He makes his own flutes that he plays, and first learned to play through the instructions of listening in the natural world. Without further ado, Laughing Fox.
Bonjour, Nindanawe Maganiduk. Hello to all my relatives out there today. Bapewa Gush Nindijinikaj. Laughing Fox is my name. Nin Misquabi Kong Nin Dunjaba. I come from the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. And Migazi in Dudame. I come from the Eagle Clan. And it's always a great honor for me to be able to come outside of my community and be able to share a little bit of our cultures, our stories, and a little bit of our history along with that. I travel all over Turtle Island, which is known as North America, and beyond, having recently returned from a trip from York, England, where I would talk to the people over there and discuss culture and history of the Anishinaabe people. And here we are gathered today, much like that of our ancestors. We gather together to share stories, to celebrate culture, to celebrate that diversity. A long time ago, when indigenous peoples would meet, one of the very first things that we would do is we would sit down together and we would pull out our puagan, our pipe. And we would smoke the puagan in the pipe with the idea that we had the same breath and the same prayer going up to be heard by the spirits. After that, then we would trade goods to ensure each other's mutual survival. So, that thing that we hear while we're growing up, if it wasn't for us, you Indians would still be fighting and at war with each other, that false narrative. But if you look at the culture and the Anishinaabe the way that we do, you'll see that we are very much in the business of meeting other cultures and coming together. So I thank you all for coming out today to hear a little bit about our stories and our culture. And I always have to ask myself, where do I start? Because it is a challenge to fit 20,000 years of culture into about 15 minutes that I have up here. And I can start with, before the creation of our universe, it was just the Creator. And the Creator, he would send out his voice, and it would return to him without being heard. And this made the creator lonely. Then the creator would have a Bawajige, a vision. And in this vision, he would see all the galaxies and all the stars. And he would see our galaxy. And as he came closer, he would see all our planets. He would see Mother Earth. And as he would approach Mother Earth, he would start to hear all the sounds of all the creatures on Mother Earth. He would see all the different landscapes. And when he came through from this vision, he realized that he would have to make this vision come true. So he gathered stuff from the quarters of the universe, and he would blow them into the sacred megashell, which would blow life onto Mother Earth. After he had created Mother Earth, he noticed that he needed to have somebody come and name everything in creation. So he would lower down original man. And he would task original man to go through creation and name everything in that. And as original man did that, he spent a lot of time with our animal relatives. And he noticed that our animal relatives had a wisdom all onto themselves, and that we could learn something from our animal relatives. And he also noticed that they came in twos, yet he was all alone. And he would go before the Creator and ask him, Creator, why does everything come in twos, yet I am all alone? And the Creator would respond with, I will send somebody to walk, talk, and play with you. And he would send to him the Maingan, the wolf. And he would ask him, well, what will you have me do with this wolf? He said, together you two will walk through creation and name everything in creation. So as the two did this, they set off on their journey to name everything in creation. And as they did this, they became bonded like brothers. And after they had named everything in creation, they would go again before the Creator, and they would ask the Creator, Creator, now that our task is complete, what will you have of us? And the Creator would respond with, now you must go your separate ways, because the oncoming people, they will not understand your bond, your friendship, and they will fear you, and they will hunt you. You must go your separate ways. And it broke their hearts, because they had became bonded like brothers. And this next song that I'm going to share with you is a part of that story. And if you listen in there, you will be able to hear those wolves calling back and forth. When the Europeans first arrived here, they kind of want us to think that there was nothing here but a couple of primitive, savage people, and that they had built everything. But in fact, when they did arrive here in North America, they would discover that there was already 90 to 100 million people living here on Turtle Island, each with their own unique forms of language, agriculture, even their own forms of writing. So that false narrative that we heard that Native Americans were just nomadic people anyway, and they were all over, they never really settled in one place, that is true for a small percentage of people who lived that lifestyle. But for the majority of us, we relied on that agriculture. Before first contact, 80% of life happened on that lake. You had to be very proficient at working with canoes, building canoes. They would portage into the rivers, into the streams. All these places, all these big cities were all founded on some sort of indigenous village. There was no free real estate here. And as the settlers came and started to push us into each other's territory, that's when, fights would start to happen as we would start to contend for other people's resources. And we would have first contact. And let's go back a little further to when people first came here. As I travel around the United States, I visit these sacred sites. And I just got back from Maine. Out there, I was at a place, a settlement that was carbon dated back 14,000 years ago. Up here in Sault Ste. Marie, on the east side of Lake Superior, there's a place up there where it carbon dates back 11,000 years ago. We found copper, Lake Superior copper, in Mexico that carbon dated back 5,000 years ago. So people have been moving and grooving and trading here for a very, very long time. That's a little bit about our history. Like I said, I was going to try to condense it all into a little bit, right? After we had first contact, then we would ensue in about 200 years of the fur trade. And that's when life for the indigenous people would really start to change as we were introduced to technologies we didn't have and technologies that we wanted. And we had to pay for those technologies with some sort of currency. At the time, it was the fur trade. So we relied on the skins of our animal relatives to help us with that. And unfortunately, at this time, we started to violate the Creator's great law of take only what you need. Right. And nowadays, we still kind of, as humans, we still kind of have that mentality. And now we can see that our Mother Earth is very much hurting and suffering from that kind of a mentality. After 200 years of the fur trade, we would enter into a treaty signing era with the U.S. government. And that's where the harder conversation comes in as Congress would enact things like the Indian Civilization Act, the Indian Removal Order Act, and these kinds of acts would give birth to the boarding school systems. The mentality of the U.S. government was kill the Indian, save the man, and that would trickle down into all facets of American life. I would learn these things in school. I would learn that we didn't become U.S. citizens until 1924. I would learn that we didn't have freedom of speech until 1968. And I would learn that we didn't have freedom of religion until U.S. Congress would pass the American Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1978. That's only 45 years ago that we've been allowed to practice our culture, our language, our way of being without fear of persecution from the U.S. government. Before that time, we had generations and generations of silence where our voices and our opinions weren't heard or mattered. So it's going to take a while for a people to learn how to use that voice to effectively communicate some of those generational traumas that we have suffered through. And through this difficult conversation, we can build empathy and compassion. We could have acknowledgement of some of those historical injustices, and then we could have acceptance. And then from that point, we can move on to a more inclusive future with empathy and compassion. This song that I'm going to share with you, I better watch the time. Here. This next song I'm going to share with you is a healing song, and the name of the song is called Indeaki, which translates to my heart of the earth. And it's actually my daughter's name. When I became a parent, we had many discussions on what we were going to name our children. And we thought about names in English, but then we thought about what we had gone through, what our children had gone through, going through the boarding school systems, taking away of our language. And we wanted to reclaim that and bring that back. So we decided to name our kid in the language. And that's when we gifted her that name, Indeaki, meaning my heart of the earth. This song is a song about love, that love unconditional that we feel for our relatives, that love unconditional we feel for our family members. This song is all about that. Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. When I first started to learn the stories, I was just a little kid. And my grandmother, she taught me these stories, right? And a long time ago, she would say to me, Bazanian. And she would say to me, Bazanian, so much that I actually thought that was my Indian name. She would say, Bazanian. I'd say, yeah, right here, Grandma. And she would say, Gawain, no, Bazanian means be quiet. You're too loud. Followed up with the Ambeoma, come here. And then Namatapin, sit down. And I would listen to her stories, and she would tell us her stories, and she would always start with a long time ago, back when the world was forever cold. She's talking about stories from the Ice Age. Our stories go back so far and so many generations that we don't even know how far back they go. And I would use these stories to help guide me in my own journey through life. And when I found my first flute, I would do just as she said. I would go, I would sit down, and I would listen. And I would listen to the wind through the trees. I would listen to the streams. I would listen to the pristineness of my environment. And one day I was sitting out there listening, and I heard an animal come in my way. And I knew it was too small of an animal to be anything serious, like a muckwa, like a bear. And when I finally turned and looked, I saw that it was an Ojitamo, a squirrel, followed by another squirrel. Pretty soon, these two squirrels were running around the woods all crazy. And I thought to myself, I heard stories that flute players could talk to animals, so I would try this. And I would try to imitate those squirrels. And I thought I would scare them away, but a funny thing happened is they just came closer. And I would tell my ma this story that later. I'd say, Ma, you know what happened? And she would look at me, and she would just say, nod her head, and she would say, yeah. She goes, you're just nuts. That's why they listen to you out there. I tell my own students, you know, it's good to listen to your adults, your elders, your teachers, your educators. But there are teachers out there in the woods, and if you're quiet and you listen, you can learn something from them. This next song I'm going to share with you is called Ojitamo Waning, and it means squirrel tail. And I learned it in the woods from two squirrels.
Wow. What a way to kick off this cabin fever reliever, right? How about another round of applause for Laughing Fox? He certainly earned it. And that goes for all of you too here, for everyone that's collected. And I hope you all take the advice here. If you haven't yet, you all have an assignment here. And that's to meet two people that you did not know when you got here today, because that's one of the things that community radio does, is it builds further relations and strengthens them. And along those lines, we sure appreciate support from Auto Value, Harbor Insurance, Louise's Place Cafe and Pantry Provisions, and Super One. And for the use of this building and all that goes with it, a special thanks goes to the Lake Superior School District staff, including Angel Poe Johnson, Custodian Jasmine, and Bruce Remy of Community Education. And yes, I remember that applause is for you too, because without your support, we wouldn't be here. And our next speaker is a member of the Grand Portage Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, the great-grandson of John Beargrease, and the board president and longtime volunteer of the John Beargrease Sled Dog Marathon. Without further ado, please help me welcome Mike Keyport.
Hi, thank you for the warm welcome and the very nice introduction. And I too would like to thank you for being here. I'm from Cook County, and our community radio stations are super important for these small communities. So I thank each and every one of you for being here in support. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about John Beargrease. As John said, I'm from Grand Portage. Most of my adult life I didn't live in Grand Portage. I lived down south of Duluth, but I always felt drawn to Grand Portage. And as life would have it, my wife and I had the opportunity to move there 13-ish years ago, and we enjoy it. I'm really proud to be a tribal member in Grand Portage. But today we're going to talk about the John Beargrease and his history here on the North Shore. And to do that, we need to go back about 160 some years. John Beargrease was born in the 1800s, and lived primarily in the Beaver Bay area, right up the road here. And he married a local native woman, and they had 10 children right in the Beaver Bay and on the North Shore. And he, of course, had ties to the Grand Portage tribal community. He was known to be a man of many skills. He was highly recognized, and he could do about anything, but he was most known for, as you may know, for delivering mail on the North Shore. From 1887 to around 1900, he hiked, sailed, and rode, and in the winter, he used dog sleds to deliver the U.S. mail. He had a contract with the government at the time, and his average payday at the time was about $2 a day to deliver mail by foot and on dog sled and in watercrafts. So it was quite challenging. He was also known as the renowned pilot of Lake Superior. He had taught himself and others to use Lake Superior as a mode of transportation, whether it be on the ice, in very dangerous conditions or in the water in a boat, and we're told that he at one time built a canoe boat type vessel and incorporated a sail on it so he could commute maybe just that little bit faster. So he was pretty handy gentleman. So he lived in Beaver Bay, as I said, but the roads only went as far as Two Harbors here. So he would have to backtrack the 25 miles, whatever it is, to Two Harbors, grab the mail, load it on his handmade toboggan type sled with 3, sometimes maybe 4 dogs, and then head up the shore and stop at these settlements with the United States mail. It's said that he could travel about 30 to 40 miles a day, kind of depending on the weather, of course. I'm sure it wasn't like this year. I think back then we actually got some snow. So he also he had a toboggan type sled on purpose, opposed to a runner sled, because these rivers and streams did not have bridges back then. It was just a trail that the native people built kind of for their own use, for hunting and gathering and such. And so when the mail thing came to be, it was kind of a no-brainer for John Beargrease to say, well, I'm using the trail anyway, I might as well make some money while I'm doing it. But the sled, we're told, that he used, he would be pulling anywhere from 400 to 700 pounds on that sled. Our modern mushers today use extremely light sleds, and with the minimal equipment that they carry with them and their person, it doesn't even come close to that type of weight that he would pull. As I said, he had many talents. He was a hunter, a trapper, a fisherman, a gatherer, and again, he built his own equipment. He built his sleds, he built his canoes. And as the Europeans and other settlers made it to the North Shore, he was kind enough to help them learn too. They would come and not know how to row a canoe or go fishing, and he would help the settlers too learn how to trap and fish and such. So he's told that he lived a heroic life. Again, not only taking care of his family, but helping others. And the story's told that he had retired from the mail delivery business, and there was another mail carrier on Lake Superior in Grand Portage that was struggling out in Lake Superior in high waves. John Beargrease took it upon himself to go out with his watercraft and help this gentleman and save his life, essentially. But the heroic act, he contracted pneumonia after helping that gentleman and died in 1910. He's buried there's a Chippewa cemetery in Beaver Bay. Himself, his brothers, and other family members, and other Chippewa natives are buried in that cemetery right up the road here. So the story kind of ends back in 1980. Dog sledding on the North Shore has kind of always been here, and there was a group of mushers in Grand Marais that they would do short races around the county, and somebody said we should do a longer race. This would be fun. So they put together a race from Grand Marais to Duluth. They might not have done it properly with permits and things like that, but they just decided to do it. And as they were putting this event together, they were like, well, we got to call it something. What are we going to call this thing? And somebody remembered that John Beargrease used dog sleds to deliver mail. And so there became originally the John Beargrease race, which now today we know as the John Beargrease Sled Dog Marathon. This year would have been our 40th running of the race that started in 1980. And we were pretty excited about doing this for the 40th time, but now we'll be waiting till 2025. So we honor him in various ways each and every year at the start of our race. And I believe there's many stories over the years have been told. I believe there will be many more stories to be told of John Beargrease, and we of course will continue to honor his legacy. I thank you for listening today and again for your support. Thank you.
Wow. Now you know a little bit more about John Beargrease, right? And thank you once again, Mike. And now we're going to have a little song. And I forgot to mention a couple of things that you weren't through hearing Laughing Fox after his first two tunes because, well, of course he was with Mike. And I think for this next song, I think it's a better fit to have Laughing Fox join me on this song rather than a harmonica. Now there's a sleepy little town way up north, up on the North Shore. And I'd never been to the sleepy little town way up high up on the North Shore before. But it's a rainy day here in old Grandma Ray. Storm clouds roll by like floats on parade. I got a good pup dog at my feet like a log. And it's a rainy day here in old Grandma Ray. I got some homegrown rockin' further down the lake. There's a wolf on the road that rain like diamonds in her coat. Now there's more to change than just what weather's here. Now there's more to change than just what weather's here, whatever weather's here. Alouette, j'étais alouette, alouette, j'étais plumerie. Now way out beyond the pouring rain, way out beyond the howling wind, even out beyond the breakers smashing upon the quay, I swear I could hear a different sound that day. I swear I could hear the ghosts of voyagers and their Anishinaabe guides singing their tunes as they plied their canoes in search of safe harbor. Well, it's a rainy day here in old Grandma Ray. St. Paul's always felt lifetimes away. He wouldn't like it up here. There's no savior to fear. And it's a rainy day here in old Grandma Ray, where water falls faster than sinners lose their way. Even temperance herself floods. Folks gather with jugs and they pluck her buds. Now there's more to change than just what weather's here. There's more to change than just what weather's here, whatever weather's here.
Alouette, chantez Alouette, Alouette, j'étais plumeré.
Laughing Fox, once again. And don't worry, you may not have seen the last of him yet. He's a sought-after performer. And that was called Grand Marais. And I forgot to mention that Laughing Fox and most of the rest of us will have merch out on the front table here that you can pick up on your way out. And that song was a little closer to Mike's home up at Grand Portage. And, you know, for helping get the word out today, we'd like to thank Harbors Media, Minnesota Public Radio, the North Shore Journal, the Lake County Press, and Duluth Reader, which hosts, by the way, the annual Best of the North Poll for just about every aspect of regional culture. And in case you did not know, this year, they placed second only to the big commercial station KQDS as the best radio station in the Northland. So, I mean, that's saying a lot. Yeah, that's saying a lot that a little tiny community radio station draws so much support. And that is thanks to all of you out there. And now next, we have a couple of guys here. I was just about to call them dudes because that's how cool they are. But Jon Edwards and Xander Ripley-Jaakola, both Duluth High School students, making names for themselves in the folk music scene, both locally and I'm sure they'll go larger. And the former, Jon Edwards, just opened up for Charlie Parr, the opening night of his latest tour. Right? And that was at Sacred Heart. And Xander just came out with his latest album, All I See, after, I don't know if, has anybody heard the Condiment album before? Xander's? If you haven't, I mean, it's on YouTube, and hopefully he brought some. I was telling him before, it's so hard to write humor in songs, I think, but he does it masterfully.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and the Condiment album has songs like Ketchup, Ranch, Relish, and Guacamole. So, without further ado, Jon Edwards and Xander Ripley-Jaakola.
Buju kakakadid Nijnakaz, Baneshin Indodem. Hi, my name is Xander. I guess I was brought here to talk about my banjo that I made, and then I'm going to play it for you in a little bit. This is my homemade banjo. I don't know what to say about it. It's I tried to indigenify the banjo. So originally, the banjo, if you did not know, is from Africa, and it was brought over here during the slave trade, and now it's like a bluegrass and stuff. And I said, well, what if we make it native? So this is just a hand drum head, which you'll hear some hand drum later. And then I stuck a stick on it. That's all a banjo is. Yeah. And then this is my friend Jon.
Hello. I'm Xander's friend, Jon. And yeah, I just had the opportunity to open for Charlie Parr last Saturday at Sacred Heart, and that was really fun, and we're going to play a couple of tunes, starting with a John Prine cover.
Yeah. Go for it.
When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. And there's a backwards old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my child, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River, the abandoned old prison down by Ojard Hill, where the air smelled like snakes. We'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my child, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber and stripped all the land. They dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and they wrote it all down as the progress of man. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my child, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes float down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. Be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my child, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Thank you.
Thank you. So the whole reason John and I met was through this class that we took at Harbor City, which is where both of us attended. This class called String Band and Dance, where we learned Appalachian string band music, and we danced. And so, well, this old time music is really fun. I think we both think.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's kind of what inspired us to do this. So this is a tune called Angela and the Baker. Okay.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
How about it? Why stop clapping? Give him another one. That's Xander, Ripley-Jaakola, and Jon Edwards. And Xander, I forgot to mention that Xander, the banjo Xander was playing, he carved that neck and stretched the skin. He made that banjo with his own hands. And, I mean, which is just incredible. That's called a luthier. And because it takes a village, and it takes all skills in the village, one thing indigenous cultures remind us is that we all belong. We all have skills to offer here. And those include our bakers, who are as sweet as their creations, along with Cedar Coffee, the KTWH fundraising committee members, which are Leo Babu, Leslie Black, Michelle Anderson, Jody Zastra, Kathy Belfield, and Jan Kringle. And community members Alex Deters, Don Olson, and Jose Leon, along with Emmett, Eli, and Zach from our youth radio program volunteers. And a special thanks to sound man Tim Leutgeb. Isn't it a great sound this afternoon? I mean, Tim, hands off. Hands down, I should say. And stage manager Danny Frank and producer Kim Leon. And we are going to have an intermission right after this next act, so please partake of the baked goods, Cedar Coffee, and remember you all have an assignment to meet at least 2 people you did not know when you got here today. And don't forget about the temporary tattoos from Glyphwick. And I think most of the other expo participants are going to be out there as well. But our final act before the intermission is a Two Harbors High School student and brilliant pianist who knows the benefit of solid discipline. And discipline is from the root word to be a student of. And he's not just a student of piano, but of inquisitive curiosity and practice, which took Eddie Ojard all the way to Carnegie Hall already. Without further ado, Eddie Ojard.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's good to be back. I'm thankful to be performing here again. I did last year, and it was a total blast, so I'm happy to do it again. The pieces I'm going to play today are very interesting. I picked out 4 Chopin etudes. And if you don't know what an etude is, it's a piece designed to work on a specific technique. And the 4 I've chosen works on several different techniques. The first piece I'll play is called the Revolutionary Etude. This piece is designed to pretty much work out your left hand. It works on arpeggios and different types of techniques that your left hand does, while the right hand has the simple melody to project. The second piece I'll play is a very slow, calm piece. This piece works on voice projection, where you have to project the top voice and not worry about the middle part, which can overcloud the voice. And the third piece is an etude called Sunshine. So the right hand is constantly doing many arpeggios up and down, so it's supposed to sound very bright and impressive, while the left hand has the melody, also very difficult to project the left hand. And then the last piece I'll play is called The Ocean, also very difficult because both hands are moving at the same time, but there's a hidden melody to project. I hope you all enjoy this performance, and yeah.
a well-deserved standing ovation for your own Eddie Ojard. And stay tuned. We got the second half of the show, and we have a 10-minute intermission now. You can hear Laughing Fox will start playing, so you can usher back in. But please remember your assignment and help yourself out there, all right? We'll see you back in 10. Well, welcome back, everyone. Remember, this is your KTWH Cabin Fever Reliever. And thank you guys so much again for coming out, spending your afternoon with us. It's the radio station with the view, remember? And thank Laughing Fox, all the first act, and welcome back with a shout out to all of our local media and journalists who covered this Cabin Fever Reliever to help make it a success. And our Duluth radio and television stations, local newspapers, and the Northern Wild magazine. Now, Oshkii Giizhik singers. They draw from a grand roster of community-minded, strong women who've been drumming and singing song into ceremony for almost 20 years. Their commitments run far and wide, but allow them to come together to weave sound into singular tapestries of song. Please help me welcome the Oshkii Giizhik singers.
Dinui Maganiduk de Tana Gamaquin Indigenous Magazine in Dorim.
Viravano Indigenous Combination Dorem.
Buju, Joshua Winnebisi Kwe.
Anin Musqua Nungi Kwe Indigo Darcy. Jawa Nudanu Kwe Indigo Jaboyamong, Gawin Mashinga Kanamasi and Dudem.
We're going to open with a song that's called Anishinaabe Kwe, which calls all of the women of all clans into the circle.
Way
much. Thank you. We are gonna sing this next song, which is called the Strong Woman's Song. We usually, like traditionally, don't have titles for our songs, but you know, now we have CDs and stuff. So, can't be like the first one and the next one and the next one. Straight song. Yeah. So this is a Strong Woman song, and it comes from an elder in Canada named Maggie Paul, who does work with women extensively. And we have heard many different stories about the song, but you know, we're limited on our time. Otherwise, we could sit here all weekend and I could tell you all the stories. But this song is generally understood as kind of like a song that has brought women together and kept them safe. Miigwech. We are going to sing a song that was made for the Anishinaabe Debajimon show that we did over at Big Top with Michael, actually. And it has some English in it, so if you are an English speaker, you're going to be able to understand those words, hopefully. And the rest says, Mi o'o and da yang, which means this is our home, and Mi o'o and da yang, this means this is our home. Two different, what is it? Tenses of the same verb, if you are a linguist. We're going to close with a song that comes to us from Yellowknife up in Northwestern Territories. A good friend of ours, Kira Dawn Colson, dreamed of this song, and her grandmother told her it was a healing song for when people are gathered together in a good way. So we're going to close with a healing song for the land and all of us who are gathered together, because who doesn't need to heal from something?
That's right, the Oshkii Giizhik singers, all the way, this phenomenal group of women who weave ceremony into song. And speaking of turning ceremony into song, I mean, and into baked goods, because all of the baked goods that you saw out back, they're all going to be bagged and tagged on sale to help promote the radio station, so you can grab them on your way out for a pittance. And there will be a meet and greet after the show out front, so if you'd like to stick around, meet some of the performers, have at it, all right? But speaking of turning ceremony into song and ritual into records of reverence, David Huckfelt, a founding member of the Pines, has now released his third solo album, a diverse venture of songmanship that maintains his Woody Guthrie and Johnny Cash-like dedication to resounding themes of injustice to the marginalized, yet through his own unique lens and soundscapes. He has performed or worked with everyone from Mavis Staples and Greg Brown to Emmylou Harris and John Trudell, Jeremy Ylvisaker, J.T. Bates, Quiltman, Keith Secola, Annie Humphrey, Bon Iver, Arcade Fire, Pieta Brown, Calexico, and Trampled by Turtles members, along with a host of other legendary artists like Billy Sedelmeyer and Howie Gelb. Without further ado, Here's David Huckfelt.
Thank you so much. Take a little more guitar, please. It's a Coma Pueblo on a hoof black night. There's reservation radio, mystery lights. I passed an old man walking 9 miles from town, with no house, no lights, no farms around. Was a one-eyed Ford with a Blackfoot girl, just an Indian car from the spirit world. Claw out your eyes, it ain't what it seems. And welcome to Chief Seattle's dream. There's a few more winters and a few more moons, then a war party raids your old bedroom, an Apache horse thief flagged me down just to warn me about a storm that makes no sound. Say, can you see the witness tree on a badland bluff on the lone prairie? The dead remember when the world was free. Welcome to Chief Seattle's dream. Will the Crowfoot dancers whistle bone? Better tell me a secret or leave me alone. Turn your headlight hard lights on high beams on the lost highway of Seattle's dream. 'Cause when your pastures aplenty have all been spent on a trip to space for the 1%, they gotta go that far just to try to be alone. It's the pale face running from the red man's ghost. Say, can you see the witness tree on a badland bluff on the lone prairie? The dead remember when the world was free. Welcome to Chief Seattle's dream. So it's a big old country, but take my dare. I bet anywhere you go, there's no there. And your high horse now is just dead meat. 'Cause your God ain't God in Seattle's dream. Say, can you see the witness tree on a badland bluff on the lone prairie? The dead remember when the world was free. Welcome to Chief Seattle's dream. Welcome to Seattle's dream. Tim, if I get more guitar, please. Thank you so much, you guys. It's truly a pleasure to be here. I feel like this day was a long time coming because I think it was mentioned to me long ago, so long ago that I almost forgot what year it was. But I do recall meeting a very kind, and I will say almost motherly, very kind woman up in Duluth for the first time, and telling me about this little radio station in Two Harbors and asked would I ever come play. And I said, well, of course I will. I would love to. And so I do want to thank a big round of applause for Kim, working so hard to put this together. And the reason I say motherly is because she's so thorough with how she gave me all the information, including she told me what time the liquor stores around here close. Nobody goes that far. It's a helpful fact for a musician at the end of a long day, so. It's a new song. Well, the soft takes the hard, the slow takes the fast. Your first mistake was thinking anything could last. Well, the first arrow was yours, second arrow mine. Never more the punishment, never more the crime, oh no. I see pretty heart red and blue lightning blood. We rob each other blind, left our wagons in the mud. And if you tremble in the morning, don't say I didn't warn you. Better spend your love now, or even what you have, even what you have, even what you have. Better spend your love now, or even what you have. It will be taken from you. There's no hand upon my forehead, kiss upon my brow. I don't take the news no more. Who might I be now? And I see Buddha in a woodpile, around dancing a drum, fox print in the moonlight, and our blankets in the sun. If you tremble in the morning, don't say I didn't warn you. You better spend your love now, or even what you have, even what you have, even what you have. You better spend your love now, or even what you have. It will be taken from you. I see pretty hard red the saddle, blue lightning blood. This is the way the world ends. God drops it with a thud. Thank you so much. That's a newer song. Tim, I still would take some more of this guitar. I think this guitar is very haunted. It doesn't do what I tell it to do yet. It actually, it came from Iowa, and it was still, sometimes guitars, you get them in the house, and they stare at you from the other room like a horse that you're not going to be able to ride. I remember reading about Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. He said his dad had a real interesting strategy. When he was a kid, his dad took a guitar and he hung it up on the wall when he was 4 or 5 years old. And his dad said, "Whatever you do, don't you dare touch that guitar." It really worked. I want to thank the Oshkii Giizhik singers, and I also want to thank Jon Sonofmel for emceeing this performance and playing for you guys tonight. So please give them a round of applause. And I want to ask you to put your hands together and welcome a friend of mine, one of the Midwest's just greatest storytellers, kindest hearts, goes around traveling schools, all kinds of stuff. It has some more history in his left little pinky than most of us know. So please welcome on the flute, Mr. Michael Laughing Fox. Sing of the body undigital, last heart off the grid. I saw two green eyes in the woods last night. You said we should leave, so we did. 'Cause nothing good comes after midnight from the left hand of God above. Show me one single wound upon the earth, my friend, that was healed by love. Go ahead and bite the hand that doesn't feed you. Leave Columbus at the bottom of the sea. Cold trouble has swelled thick as fiddlers in hell. It's a heavy minute to get free. Take apart your bones and throw them back together. Tell your mama that you're somebody new. You won't like what comes after America, boys, and you won't know what to do. The crack in everything. It's where the light slips out in the darkest sin. your heart's a cruise missile pointed backwards. Your head's a minefield in fresh snow. Improvised explosives in your 5G dreams. If they say it's so, it isn't so. 100 million homeless desperados fighting for a black cat bone. My, how many followers and friends you have for someone naked and long. And the crack in everything. It's where the light slips out and the dark gets in. Yeah, the crack in everything. It's where the light slips out and the dark gets in. Michael Laughing Fox on a flute. Thank you so much. That's just a cheery little song about the end of the world. No big deal. My mom's been telling me for about 20 years to write happier songs. I finally did. But I want to say, as a musician who travels around, just sometimes you need to hear it direct. Like radio stations are like gold, you know. If there's a little radio station like KTWH in some town somewhere, then someone like me knows we can go play there. And I'm always texting with people like Charlie Parr or even Dave Simonette, like, hey, have you heard the little radio station outside of Bozeman? Or, you know, did you know there's a little station down in Tucson that you can get, you know, they'll actually play your music. And the power of a song is a big deal. So, just thanks to KTWH and stations up here like that to help us musicians have a place to play. Because the truth is, you never know when a song is going to stick. I learned this lesson the hard way. I have a little boy who was born at the beginning of pandemic, and I made the mistake of letting him watch that Cars movie, that Disney movie. I never needed to hear that song, Life is a Highway, again. But instead, I had to hear it every day for so long, and it's still in there somewhere. And to the point where I was one of those early nights. Maybe Billy was around 2 years old, not really going to sleep like I wanted him to, and I was on story book number 5 or 6. In a rocking chair, I just reaching behind me and grabbing books off the shelf, half awake. And I grabbed one, opened it up, and it was there was a Buddhist monk. It was Thich Nhat Hanh. It was a book about mindful parenting. And I just opened it up, and I had Billy on my lap, and I said, Bill, life is suffering. I said, the Buddha says life is suffering. Just FYI. And he just looked at me, and his 2-year-old eyes and his cheeks. He said, nuh-uh, Dad. Life's not suffering. Life is a highway. And I took out my little notebook and I said, Billy 1, Buddha 0. So we've been going ever since, and I wrote him a little song to kind of help us both through the pandemic. And not everything what seems holy is safe. So I'll build up a fire for you. Give you a big head start on your daring escape. From the selfish small they're gonna throw at you. You put your diamond eye in your medicine pouch. Your hideout map on the back of your hand. You who never have known not a one bad thought. They're all gonna wanna know what's your plan. So put your dream catcher on your eyes tonight. Pull your blanket of stars to your chin all tight. Did I ever tell you about the night of your birth? At the golden glowing heart of the earth. At the golden glowing heart of the earth. You with tenderfoot in this trampled world. You live on sunlight, berries, and air. Well, before you even ask, the answer's yes. When exactly do we lose that flare? I figure all the clouds should know you by now. Squad to Z, all the spirits say. I thought love was a wrench to tighten the nights, but you slipped me through a hole in the day. So put the dream catcher on your lips tonight. Pull your blanket of stars to your chin all tight. When they ask you where you're from and where was your birth, say the golden glowing heart of the earth. Say the golden glowing heart of the earth. Once upon a gentle head on a chest. Once upon a dimple where the angels sing. Not a broken reed, a bent blade of grass. You got your home on your back, don't you fear a thing. I love you, Billy, like a long, slow day. Somewhere you stop that you'd like to stay. When everybody's taking their guns to town. Quick, draw your love and spread it around. Just put the dream catcher on your heart tonight. Pull your blanket of stars all across the sky. If anybody asks you what a soul is worth, say the golden glow, heart of the earth, say the golden glow, heart of the earth, say the golden glowing heart of the earth. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Like John said, we're going to go out there and do a meet and greet. There's CDs and vinyl, and she's welcome, or he's welcome. And I don't know, we might get to do this here. Everybody always says to me, "Oh, it's so great when you get your little son up there to play with you." And I always say, I don't get him to do anything. He does it. He insists. I said, well, I got a concert tonight. He said, well, Dad, I'm going to play. So if you put your clapping hands together and welcome to the stage Mr. Billy Niobrara on his brand new harmonica. Come on out here, buddy. Can you say hi, everybody?
Hi.
Okay. Now, we just got a brand new harmonica from our sweet friends, Arnie and Ivy. Can you say miigwech?
Miigwech.
Let's see if it works. Does it work? Blow your harmonica. Okay, all right. And what song are we going to do? Should we sing a song for Rainbow Trout? Yep. All right. In the big rock candy mountain, there's a land that's fair and bright. The handouts grow on bushes, and you sleep out every night. Boxcars all are empty, the sun shines every day. All the birds and the bees and the cigarette trees, the lemonade springs where the bluebird sings in the big rock candy mountain. In the big rock candy mountain, never change your socks. The little streams of alcohol come trickling down the rocks. All that the railroad bulls are blind. There's a lake of stew and a whiskey too. You can paddle all around it in a big canoe on a big rock candy mountain. Can you play harmonica for these folks? In the big rock candy mountain, the jails are full of tin. You can walk right out again as soon as you are in. There ain't no long-handed shovels, no axes, saws, or picks. Well, I'm bound to go where there ain't no snow. The sun always shines and the wind never blows. We hung the jerk who invented work on the big rock candy mountain. And I'll see you all this coming fall on the big rock candy mountain. One more time for a big harmonica fans. Are you ready?
Big word.
Thank you so much.
Mr. David Huckfelt with his son Billy. Thanks again, you guys. We will have a meet and greet out afterwards, and I would like to invite all the other performers out on the stage tonight for a final bow. And Eddie Ojard, if you're out in the audience, we haven't been able to round you up, but come on up too. And all the performers, come on out and take a final bow. And you guys go ahead and stand up too, because this bow is for you as well, in your honor as well. Come on out. Usually performers aren't shy to perform. Oh, here we go. All right. Yes. Thanks again. Thanks again, you guys. We'll see you out in the foyer. Remember, merch and baked goods are on sale, tagged, and ready to go.